Hello, viewers. I'm Vibhuti Jha, and this is Jaipur Dialogue USA. The season is hot, and with the US elections coming up in next few days. And today, I have the great pleasure in talking about the election, the scenario as it is emerging uh, for the Indian American community, United States as a whole. And I have great pleasure in welcoming two of my very good friends. One is Professor Amar, who is a professor at Seton Hall University. And the second gentleman is Dr. Rakesh Sharma. He's in Long Island here, and he's a great friend of mine. And I remember, suffice to tell the audience that Mr. Sharma, Dr. Sharma, and I had done a show when COVID was declared as a pandemic. And this doctor had the courage and the guts and the foresight to say that it was a man-made crisis. So Dr. Sharma has been, frontline warrior against COVID, managing significant amount of intensive care unit and the hospital beds here in Long Island. So both of you gentlemen are welcome to the show for the first time on Jaipur Dialogue USA, and we are in the thick of election campaigning. Now it is the battleground states, the 7 battleground states, and how the whole thing will shape up. So, Professor Amar, I begin with you. You have been an ardent Trump supporter, and we were on ITV shows in 2016 supporting him and campaigning for him. So now, how do you feel this year is shaping up? Will 45 be a new math entering into 47?
I would say, in spite of some of the resistances that have been caused, Trump is doing good. And it's not because of what Trump is doing that is causing people to get turned off. It is how his opponents are doing. So I believe problems that have been caused by the Biden and Kamala Harris administration are the problems that have been the opportunity for Trump. And Trump will handle those opportunities very well. And people do believe him because he has already proven several of those things in his previous administration.
What is that will be the election? I'm talking about right now. How do things look? Is it one thing to look good, that he is a fit man to be the 47th president? The challenge here is whether he will survive the onslaught of media and the propaganda that goes against him. And occasionally, as you know, he doesn't help himself because he makes controversial statements or makes statements which gets interpreted and manipulated in a way that he ends up explaining it to people that I didn't mean this or I didn't say that. So the question here is, why does he do that? Because controversy is the one thing that you want to avoid entering the last phase of the campaign. What is your thought on that?
See, he's a free talker, and he says what comes to his mind, and he doesn't even give much concentration to what he's going to say and how will people react. For example, he made statement about 9 guns pointed at. Now, he obviously did not mean anything in terms of pointing at her, but it is because she was promoting war, aggression, and he was going against war. And he said, if you are warmonger, you will only realize when 9 guns are set at you, and you means a country or people, then you will understand war is not a good thing. So he was really going against war and making that comment. It's not what Trump said. It is what the media makes out of it. By changing one proposition here or there, or by changing the subject or intent, they just go leave out everything else and they say he's telling 9 guns are pointed at you.
I also watched that and I also read it. So my thought process was exactly that. That he is telling, effectively, he was telling Liz Cheney that you are a warmonger, you have no clue what war is like. Perhaps you will understand if you are facing few guns at your face. That's the time when people have the ability to understand. I understood it, you understood it correctly in the same fashion, but as you rightly said, mainstream media was playing out in such a way. And I'm happy to share that I watched many commentaries on this issue, being the media person that I am. And I must tell you that many media companies actually, reprimanded the management, the narrative created by the mainstream media. Rakeshji, heading into the last 3 days, an ardent political observer and a physician to boot, how are things looking like for Trump or for Kamala Harris?
Well, thanks for the invite and glad to be on your show. Plus, happy to discuss politics of US since I've been here for 44 years. Uh, as other Indians, our full-time job is politics. Coming back to President Trump,
Hmm.
I have been following him from his very first primary along with you from 1920, I said 2015, we started to follow President Trump and he won at that time. So the difference between 2015, 16, and now, I think there are two things. Number one, President Trump has already been tested. People know that he was president for the 4 years from 16 to 20. So all those Democrats or liberals who say he's going to start World War III should know at his past record that for 4 years he never started any war. So making those kind of statements looks very stupid. Number two, President Trump has always worked for the nation, not for the party, which makes him different from a lot of other political candidates. He always thinks about nation first. So his slogan that "Make America Great Again" really resonates with the voters. Yes, in 2020, the game changed because there were a lot of mail-in votes and early voting, which Republicans were not ready for, and that's why he lost. Otherwise, I think he was a stronger candidate against Joe Biden or President Biden. But this time around, he is experienced. He knows the mistake he made in 2020. And I think his opponent has not been tested and has not achieved anything worth what we call presidential material. So he has an upper hand this time around.
I think I agree with you on this because this is what I have been saying that, you know, on issues and entire agenda, exactly that his record is right in front of you to everybody. You know, he didn't start any war. The economy was going all the way up, but for the COVID part, which the entire world suffered from. Now, Amarji, this is what is important, what Sharmaji said just now, that last in 2020, the Democratic Party sprung the mail-in surprise, the mail-in voting surprise. This is the only country in the world that has made its proud democracy a non-exportable item and a laughing stock around the world, saying that we can't provide IDs to voters, voter IDs, or citizenship ID for people. So much so that in California, asking for citizenship proof has been banned. You know, that is the tragedy. So, what surprise do you think that Trump team must ready itself for?
See, uh, like you said, in California, they said it is illegal for anyone to ask for voter ID who wants to vote. And you saw how in Virginia, finally, the Supreme Court had to step in to tell them you have to throw out those people on the ballot who are given the right to vote, because they do not have the citizenship, and it's known. So why are you trying to enforce it? The biggest difference is in America, the election is controlled by states. There is no federal system of voting, and states do whatever they want. And it is, look at, if America conducted elections like they are done in India, where everything is controlled by the federal government or central government, and it is the government officials. Here, volunteers are manning the booths where people are voting. I can tell you from my own observation, live on the TV, I was watching when Georgia senators' elections were taking place. And you recall they were delayed in 2020, and they were conducted later. And here, Walt Blitzer was having his show, and the counting was going on. Close to the end, both Republican candidates was comfortably ahead, and about 8 or 10% of the remaining ballots were to come in for counting. And here they bring a cart, push in a cart, heavy big cart, and we saw their tapper was standing, and CNN voters, CNN correspondent asked, "So you have brought those 117 ballots that were being sent?" And the person who was pulling in the cart, he said, "Actually, they were 171,000, not 117,000." Now the CNN correspondent gloated, because this is the kind of thing he wanted to hear, because that would upset the election. And he said, these volunteers, they make mistakes. So someone erroneously said that we were going to be sending 117,000 ballots to you. They're actually 171. Now, as soon as those ballots came, and they came from the black district in Georgia, the changes started to occur, and both seats went to Democrats. And I was so much interested in furthering this. I asked our university librarian to get me a recording of this whole event. And in spite of she trying, she could not get me the tape. But she said, "I can get you the transcript." I said, "Okay, get me the transcript." And I have transcript saved, all the conversation, everything going. It was, if Trump says or anybody says this was an election that really was stolen, they just come on him. You are not democratic, you are really authoritarian, and you want. But they can't change my mind because of what I saw. Had I not seen this, I would have believed everything is fair and fine.
That is indeed a matter of concern. And Rakeshji, what I wanted to ask is that last time the surprise came, we remember the scenes in which many voting places in Pennsylvania and other areas, they boarded up the wall and they suspended the counting. And then after 5 hours, then they restarted, the tables had turned. Nobody could see what was happening inside. So there is an element of severe doubt. So, what kind of surprise do you think Trump might face in this election, including the fact that several hundreds of thousands of voters have been brought in, immigrants have been brought in under asylum category? And there was a video yesterday which I saw in which a Haitian guy said, "I have voted and I'm going to vote again." Right? And the Pennsylvania or whichever state it was in, they said we can't cancel that vote out because it's already been counted in. Now, what is your take on that? What must Trump protect himself against? That because his supporters have been saying, let's go and vote so overwhelmingly that these aberrations do not count. Your take.
Yeah. I will start this with a very famous proverb saying, a bad system can beat a good man any day.
Yes.
That's what is happening in US. This is the best democratic country supposed to be, but we have a very bad system. You cannot fly in the plane without showing your ID. You cannot even buy a Sudafed tablet in CVS without showing your ID. But you can definitely vote without showing your ID because you're too
Right.
poor to get an ID. Same people show their ID at every place except voting. I always go to vote, and no one asks me about my ID. All I have to do is tell my name, and then I can vote. Uh, I do have to sign though, but
Yeah,
this
because the voter registration is done. So, signature is just a BS.
absolutely. So the thing is, we need to change the system. And where does this come from? Well, Supreme Court passes judgment every other day, and we have not done anything for the for the purpose of voting, which is very strange. Both the parties, especially Republicans, should push for it. Especially now, they have five judges in Supreme Court who actually favor Republican agenda all the time. So this is a time that Republican needs to push for this change. That's number one. Will Donald Trump get any surprise this time around? I seriously doubt it. I think Republicans have been burned once, so they are a little bit ready for this thing. And I don't think Democrats have another card in their sleeve that they can pull out. So I hope this is a fair election this time. And as we all understand, in US, some states have already been declared Democratic or Republican. The, the fight is only in five or six swing states. So in those five, six swing states that especially Donald Trump lost in 2020 to President Biden, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, uh, and I think Wisconsin. Those are the states that where the fight is on. Everything else we already know, and the best part is winner takes it all. So even if you have 20,000 votes or 2 million extra votes, makes no difference.
Right.
So let's see what those five or six battleground states bring this time.
Hmm. Good. I think I have sent several tweets to Laura Trump saying that your only job is to make sure that there is no election irregularity ever happens on this matter, because this is a shame for American democracy. We are trying to project to the world that we are the best and the finest democracy and the finest example of democracy. And if we are not able to do 110 or 120 million people with voter ID, it's a shame. Nobody buys that. The Democratic Party argument of, oh, I mean, Harris had said in one of the interviews that, oh, rural areas people don't have money to get the photocopy of their IDs. I mean, what was she thinking when she made this statement? Like, we come from India. Photocopying is not an issue. Let's get real about that. And yeah, as you gave the example of Sudafed, I have often fun when stop and shop when I go to buy NyQuil, say for example, they come to clear me and I said, yeah, I'm 16. So it is when that is the situation, it's a joke. Let's get to the issues
Ye-
affecting Indian American communities. And Professor, I'll come to you first on this matter.
Okay.
Why must Indian Americans prefer Trump over Harris or Harris over Trump? What would be your top three reasons to vote for either or?
See, uh, I consider myself American, and I believe what is good for America is eventually good for the whole world because America is the biggest power, and India included in that. Now, obviously, the most important thing is the economy.
Yeah.
If we do not have economy that is strong enough, we will not be able to have good life or enjoy prosperity and wealth and security and all those. And mm, I do not think Kamala Harris even understand demand and supply and how the price steps in and how do you run business or understand how to uh, how production works or how factories operate and on purpose I have noticed in last uh, maybe about week or 10 days she doesn't talk about the issue period. She knew if she talks on the issue, she will get in trouble. And so all she talks about is uh, Trump. Trump has problem. Trump uh, is not for democracy, and Trump is autocratic, or Trump is Hitler, and all those, which really do not mean anything. The second problem which is very important for America is the border. Okay, we have seen for even 3.5 years, how they allowed people to come in and no check whether even one got the COVID vaccine or anything of that sort. All you had to do is sign your name and get your ticket to wherever you want to go, and you're gone. How could a brainless person be running country like that? I mean, that's so simple. And when you understand, it is not really the brainless person who is operating, it is the brain crooked person. Crooked person. They were planning how to make their votes and how to keep the government in the hands of the Democrats for a very long time to come. They could not accept Trump winning, and Trump's victory came as a surprise to them, and they wanted to make sure in uh, in 2020 election it never happened, and so they started to sow seeds of corruption and mm, how could you have more voters coming and voting when the number of registered voters is much less than that? So that is the second. The third problem is the world peace. And like uh, we saw, Rakesh said, um, there was uh, a blame going on Trump during the 2016 election that he is going to start third world war, and he had the best 4 years in terms of peace for the whole world. Not nowhere there was any kind of struggle, conflict among people, and we saw 4 years of Biden, who always thought he was the better person to be the president, and Democrats are better at keeping peace, and he is really into third world war. I mean, and 100%, if Kamala Harris becomes president, this war is not coming to an end. But Trump will stop it, like he said, and that is there is no doubt about it. And Putin is waiting for Trump. Trump is going to find a way for Putin to save his face and for uh, the Ukraine to really, at least mostly, be intact. And
Okay.
side of Israel, uh, in fact, Nathan.
We will come to Israel thing a little later because that is very interconnected. I'll come to Sharma ji. Give me your three reasons why. I'll make a distinction here. Professor Amar is right that it is an American election. However, as a famous satirist P.J. O'Rourke had said, And I heard this with his own mouth when he said that this country will forever struggle to have a comprehensive immigration reform and forever struggle to have a comprehensive foreign policy because every goddamn fellow is a foreigner here. So, as from that point of view, if you look at it as an Indian American community, I'm looking at an Indian American community become vital in the 7 battleground states. Now, if Indian American community were to vote, considering in 2020, Ilhan Omar and Tlaib made an open statement in Georgia that they exhorted the Muslim community to vote for Biden. If we had done something like that, there would have been qayamat. There would have been a complete breakdown of freedom of religion element. From that perspective, forget the Muslim part, Indian Americans. Why must Indian Americans choose Trump over Harris? Or why must they vote for Harris over Trump? Your top 3 considerations for that.
Excellent. I think USA, as you mentioned, is immigrants' country. So every person who comes here uh, has links to certain other countries or religions because it's not very old nation. So we all remember either we are of Irish origin or Italian origin or Chinese origin or Indian origin. So people keep that in mind. But America, on the whole, being a world leader, elections here have global impact. That's number one. It's not a tiny nation that people or other countries will ignore. If Trump wins, we know that he is going to keep China, North Korea, and Iran in line. If Kamala Harris wins, she will continue the same policies that Joe Biden and Obama had. So people have to decide, do they want the same thing for next 4 years, or do they want the policies of Trump that he had from 2016 to 2020? That's number one. Number two, make America great again means focus on your own country first before you start helping others. Just like in the plane, they tell you, in case of any happening, please put the oxygen mask on yourself first and then you help others. So, America has to look at the same way, help your own citizens first, worry about others later. We have $35 trillion debt, and all we are doing is expanding our defense, helping 30 other nations, including Ukraine, getting $100 billion every few months. Trump will definitely have impact on that war and hopefully will stop the war. That's number one. Number two, Kamala Harris, who is actually 50% Indian and 50% African American, whatever you want to call, or Caribbean,
Yeah.
is ashamed to call herself half Indian. To me, if my children tomorrow do not acknowledge that their father or mother or both parents came from India, that would be a shame. So, had Kamala Harris told everyone that she's half Indian and half black, that would have been received very warmly by Indian Americans. So this year around, we have 100,000 more Indian Americans who became citizens in US. Means 100,000 more Indian Americans will be voting this time compared to 2020. And these are the people who are naturalized citizens, means they were born in India.
Right.
So those people tend to vote more for Republicans as compared to Indians who are born in this country. So Kamala Harris will have disadvantage of not acknowledging her Indian roots. And third thing I would say, President Trump is absolutely right in objecting to the cross border people coming in, because he is not saying he's against legal immigrants. He's saying that he's against illegal immigrants. This is where media has not been focusing correctly. They just say, oh, Trump is racial and anti immigrant. Absolutely not. He is pro educated legal immigrants. And what else can we find the difference between two? I think Kamala Harris's experience is very, very limited. So I don't think she's really ready for a global leadership.
That's a very important point that she's not ready for global leadership. And as Professor Amar said, she can't even know what is the difference between demand and supply side of the economics. So that's why she doesn't talk about policies. And her entire thing is based on future, opportunity. Trump is a Hitler. But recent times, the Indians are less dependent on state welfare programs. By and large, Indians are very clear and they're professionals, they're doing well in this country. Whatever they are doing, they're above average on every single count. Therefore, it is important for people to know that some Indians told me that economy is running, we are doing well. We are affected in a certain way, but not devastated because of economy. But what matters is the social and the family values that are very critical for Indian Americans. We are famous in America for living the family values. We take care of our children. We have special relationship with our children. Our children are not accidental tourists in our life. They are part of a product of love and affection and care. So this is a very important thing. And on all these counts, the Democratic Party policies are hurting the family as a unit the most. They are taking away the parental control over children, education. There are ridiculous efforts are being made in school to talk about, sex objects. There is a sex education and there is a sexuality in education. They have brought about sexuality in education. And in California, they have made the law. Imagine Governor Newsom being the president of America. He has made it a law that if parents do not consent to gender change of children, they have to lose their child. I mean, this is a weakening of the family as a structure. And it is the weakening of the weakness in the family structure of America that has caused social upheaval. So if this is the reason, my reason for voting for Trump, among other things, the number one reason is destruction of the family as a unit. So Professor Amar, what would you consider? I mean, you are an American, I totally agree. I'm an American, so is Rakesh. But looking at the perspective of the Indian American, you are in Seton Hall. You know what Indian Americans and Hindus were attacked in your neighborhood company called Rutgers and that lady. So we have to be cautious about our own identity. Is that a good enough reason for people to vote for Trump?
To me, going and having the right to go kill the baby right even when the baby is ready to come out or even comes out. I mean, they go to that point. And to us, by our value system, and I say us, I mean the Indian value system that I acquired from my birth, we believe life is the most precious thing, life of everybody, all. We even preserve the life of insects and animals, small animals or large animals, or even snakes. We will give respect to all life. And here, you do not even give respect to your own child that is being born. I am for some kind of freedom to women to decide not to have a child, but that should have a limit.
Thank
Once
you.
the baby is heart has started to beat, now it is life. Now it is not just an embryo. So maybe like 6 weeks or so, it should be the limit. And Trump has not said anyways because he knows he is going to lose if he really becomes strong on this. But Trump is not going to have uh, any state go and not preserve the rights of the unborn.
Thank you. Doctor, I'm coming to you because, abortion is an issue which is somewhere along the line. The second generation Indians and most of the Indians, women I talk to, oh, they are saying, oh, it's our body, our right. I'm saying, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. There have been, Trump has made exceptions, and everybody acknowledges that there are exceptions: rape, incest, or, God forbid, ISIS and other people, those kind of people impregnate an innocent woman. Yeah, those DNA need not be reborn, need not be brought into life. So people have, and mother's health, yes, that's a critical part of it. But no woman can get pregnant without intervention of a man. That also is a reality, other than the IVF and other special treatments. So the question here is, woman's body is woman's body, and I'm totally, as a grandfather to a beautiful granddaughter, I do recognize she has a right of her own. But I'm also concerned about the women's treatment that is done by the Democratic Party with reference to transgender people entering the women's locker room and restroom facilities because they feel like one. I mean, I was distressed to think about that. Or transgender men participating in women's sports. I mean, this is ridiculous. I sometimes feel that why do women not see through this double play of Democratic Party, that because of transgender people, a very small percentage of people, which is transgenderism is not that people wanted to be a transgender. People, it's a natural birth issue. How is it? How can women not see through this destruction of women as a whole by the Democratic Party? Why can't people see through that? Your thoughts?
Well, glad that I'm not a politician and I don't have to run for any office. So I'm going to speak my mind and my heart and not be afraid if I have a position against one party or the other. As a physician, sure, my life has been affected because this is the only thing I know for the last 40 years or so, or more than 40 years. I think Republicans are wrong. I'm a Republican. Republicans are wrong on this issue of abortion. No politician, no judge, no court should tell women what to do. If I was a woman and I was in love with someone and got pregnant, and after the guy finds out that he's going to leave me because he doesn't want to marry me, and I'm 8 weeks pregnant, I would go very next day and have abortion because I would not like to deal with that person's child ever in my life. So court or politician cannot tell me what to do. That is me as a grown person. I'm not a female, but I do respect women if they have been cheated by a man on whatever level and they don't want to keep that man's baby. It's their right to go for abortion. And yes, what we have to do is we have to look at the parties and the candidates, how many pluses and how many negatives they have. So Republicans may have this thing in my mind on the wrong side, but I have had to look at the party or a candidate in whole. If a party or a candidate has one or two negative things and eight positive, of course I will choose that. But when it comes to abortion, I am pro-abortion, not for the fun of abortion, but let woman decide where her future lies.
You use a
I
very
would like
powerful
to
word.
comment
Just
on
one
that.
minute, just one minute. Amarji, just 1 minute.
Okay.
You said it very correctly. Abortion in extraordinary circumstances are definitely permitted. Absolutely fine with that. No disagreement on that. Absolutely none whatsoever. Whatever is important, but what I'm trying to say here is is the handling of the issue. There is a bigger issue involved here, and the issue is that it must not become, as you rightly said, aborting a child for the fun of it. You are indulging in unprotected sex, where sex is a very commoditized item in America. So the question is that when you are indulging in unprotected sex, you know the consequences of your action. And that's what is important. We are living in 21st century, not in 15th century world. We have enough ways and means to protect unwanted pregnancy, right? You cannot say a woman, a girl, a woman cannot say, oh, that, okay, let me have my sex, and if I get pregnant, I will abort the child. That's the issue. That's the what the commoditization abortion is the issue for me, from my point of view. And I'm totally in agreement with that. If a man plays truant with love with a woman, if he is only entrapping her into a sexual relationship, it's a different case. That's why the extraordinary measures are required for extraordinary event, because that girl may be poor. She has to be taken care of by the society or by the institutions that govern us. And I'm with you on that matter. The politician must step out of the life of a woman, a life of a man, and their relationship. That's what is important here, to assert that independence. Your take, Mr. Professor.
Yeah, uh, I disagree. I disagree with both of you.
Okay.
To me, life is precious, and all life has to be saved. And once the baby's heart starts to beat, it is life. And it is not a woman child. It is also child of the person who impregnated her. And if both have break, like um, Rakesh said, if there is a breakup between the two and man walks away and says, leave it to you, if it is within 6 weeks, then abort it. If it's past 6 weeks, do not abort it. Now, generally on life, this is child, but a bigger question is being raised: can someone go and end their life, euthanasia or those kind? It happens more than it is talked about. It's happening in Europe so widely. It is even happening to some extent in India and Asia, and happening in America. You go, if I tell my wife, my life is mine, you think she is agreeing? I go tell my children, my life is mine, I want to go kill myself, or I'm going to take my life. That's not true. The life belongs to all people, the society. Look at these people can't produce children. How are they going to keep their nation? There are no population is going down in all the developed countries. Europe, America, they want to have sex, they want to have pleasure, they want to go out, have good time. They don't want to really do it for the sake of having children. Our model and our goal and our ritual, our belief system says, Putrarthe kriyate bharya. We take woman because we want to have child. And now, if look at, there are 7 ways of marrying according to Hindu belief. And if any of those happens, marriage occurred. You both, man and woman, decide to go have sex. Marriage has occurred according to Hindu belief. The moment you went and conducted sex, you became husband and wife. Now that child is your child, together, both of you. And we have to give respect to life. And that is very.
That point taken, but I have an issue with that, and I agree with Dr. Sharma in this, Rakesh, in this matter. That supposing a man entraps a woman, gets her pregnant, leaves her midway when she's 3 months pregnant or whatever. Now, you mean to say she must carry the child and endure the trauma
No,
of betrayal?
no.
Wait. Let me finish
Found
my
out
statement.
the
Let me
man
finish
was a
my
cheat.
statement.
Then
Let me
that,
finish my statement, Professor.
yeah,
You mean to say the woman, that girl, has to necessarily endure the trauma of unwanted pregnancy, ditched by a man, and conceive that child and bring that child on the planet Earth to tell her that it was her father who ditched her and misbehaved with her, should she
Good,
not
good.
have the right?
I got your point.
Yeah.
See, you said three times this man's child.
I didn't
She
say this
should,
man's child. I said it's a child is a conception with a union of man and a woman. That's simple like
right,
that. Yeah.
right. So, but you said, why should she carry that man's child who cheated her or who really somehow she found out to be a bad person or wrong person? Okay, why are you getting into sex when you really don't know the person? And how come after 6 weeks of your sex, you find the man was wrong? I mean, this is exactly the problem. It's sensual pleasure. For the sake of sensual pleasure, you just go and have sex, and then you say, let's just abort it.
You are right now. Now, when you go for the sensual pleasure, it is a social issue now. Rakesh, I'll come to you in the last closing minutes of this program today. Is if you were to vote, what would be your one reason to vote for Trump, one reason to vote for uh, Harris, and one reason that you will not vote Trump, and one reason for why you will not vote Harris?
Reason to vote for Trump, I think he has been tested. His policies are right for the nation and for the citizens. America first and take care of the citizens. That's the reason I will vote for him. A reason not to vote for him would be if he talks too much, which is little rash talk, and sometimes he doesn't mean it, but people take it literally. I don't. That may be the reason not to vote for him. And the reason to vote for Kamala Harris, if someone says, well, we want a woman president in this country, this is the only chance after so many years. If you want to vote for a woman, that would be the reason, not because she's qualified. Not to vote for her is, I think, very obvious. I don't think she is ready for global leadership. So that's the reason I will not vote for him, not for anything else. She's half Indian, so uh, that should have been my agenda to vote for her. But I don't look at uh, partition voting. I don't think people should vote based on their color or religion or even their gender. So I'm very a fair person, I think. That's why I would look at both the candidates and not look at their skin color or their religion. That's why I don't think I will vote for Kamala Harris.
Professor, I know your vote, so I don't need to ask that. But what I want to ask you is that, like Rakesh was saying just now, a lot of Indians vote Democrat. Why? I mean, is it some kind of a sentimental connect, or
Yeah.
is it we have not matured as political tools in this country?
In 2016, there was some increase in the uh, uh, Republican vote from Indians, but it was because of Trump. And now, uh, again, I see there is a switch. Indian Americans somehow believe if it is Kamala Harris, you may say, okay, she didn't really avow Indianosity in her, but if you find in her life, in her background, she is not hiding her Indian identity and Indian background. She is showing um, women in saris from her family, her mother, and others. And even when she went to uh, Tamil Nadu and she met with her family, some pictures taken and all that, they have been shown. One reason why I will like to vote for Kamala Harris is because she is Indian. And uh, I don't care whether it is woman or not. We don't take diversity into account when we are electing our president. And the reason I believe Trump will be better is because Trump is a known commodity, and Trump's style we know. Uh, I I was the first professor to endorse Trump in January of 2016, and Trump had on his uh, website my name entered as the first academic who endorsed Trump.
I hope your endorsement continues.
It would, and uh, I also started Indian Americans for Trump, a PAC in 2016. I also renewed it in 2020 as Indian Americans for Trump 2020, and in 2024 Indian Americans for Trump 2024. I knew Trump personally, had the occasion to spend Diwali 2 years ago at Mar-a-Lago, and I found Trump to be so warm, so personable, so cozy. Anyone he can make turn into his friend and his relation. The
Thank you so
best
much for your
Diwali, best
yeah.
Diwali I had at Mar-a-Lago in all aspects.
Thank you. I'm coming to the close of the statement. My thought process is twofold. One is, yes, you are right, Rakesh, and this one. No, I'm not voting for her just because she is an Indian. Let's put it very clearly. We are electing President of the United States of America, and we have to find who is the best candidate, who is the better of the lot. And Trump scores handsomely better over Kamala Harris because she has no capacity as of now. She has no policy perspective and nothing at all. So, candidacy wise, she is a wishy washy candidate. And she has not fought any primaries. And she has been brought in, snuggled in from the back, as so it seems. That's one reason. Second one, I will put it, is every single anti-Hindu, anti-India, everything anti-India, everything that happens, it happens in Democrat-run states. Those plots are conceived, planned, and executed in Democrat-run states, whether it was the battle for restoring the sanctity of swastik in New York, whether it was caste thing in California, the bogus reports, whether it was dismantling Hindutva, all of it happens in Democrat-run states. Resolutions passed against India, resolutions passed against Kashmir issue. And Kamala Harris is on record taking the help of a Pakistani Muslim guy who formulates her Kashmir agenda. So it seems. His name I'm not going to say here, but she has said that she is not going to forget and she is going to intervene in India on behalf of Kashmiris. She is not talking about Kashmiri Pandits. She's talking about people who are not Pandits. So I have very germane issues with Democratic Party and their leadership for the way they treat Indians and Hindus particularly. So with these words, I want to thank you for your insight, very fruitful discussion. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we are going to have 4 different people because we want to focus on this issue, who is best for America and who will do the right thing for us. Tomorrow we will have 4 people. On Monday we will have 3 more, and we will continue this dialogue, the choice between Trump and Harris, the choice for Indian Americans, very specifically. Thank you very much. As I always say, Satyameva Jayate. For truth to triumph, we need to stand up and fight for it. Thank you very much, both of you, Amarji and Rakesh.
Thank you.